We're going to be at SharePoint Saturday in Leicester in November, so if you want to come and talk to us, please do come along, go and sign up. So lots of really good topics there. So if you want to talk about internet solutions, please come and talk to us at SharePoint Saturday. I will jump straight into the screen share. So there is quite a lot of things to get through, so we'll just work through these one by one, and the intention is to just give you a snapshot of what's happening. I'm not going to go into detail on many of them as usual, but if anything takes your fancy or something you want to know more about, then the information is here for you to go and research in a bit more detail. So first of all, we'll look at the message center updates that have happened over the last 4 weeks. Bear in mind these are message centers in my own tenant, so yours may vary depending on which part of Office 365 you're in. So at the moment we have 5 current incidents that are going on, and we'll work through these. So the first 5, so delayed notifications, so users may notice delayed receipt of credit card decline notification emails. That's been running since the 18th of October and is still ongoing. Can't deploy or utilize add-ins, so admins in Office 365 portal may be unable to access or utilize add-ins within the admin portal. That's been going on since the 21st of October. Task inline suggestions not working, so Exchange Online users may experience issues when using the inline suggestions feature. Can't access OneDrive for business content. This is a false positive, so this is something that was reported but actually isn't a real incident, so probably won't be affecting you, so just being aware of what false positive means. And some users may be unable to access SharePoint Online sites, and that's been running since about 3 a.m. This morning. Actually, that was actually closed as well this morning as well, so it only happened for a couple of hours. So I had 56 items in the message center that were closed in the last 4 weeks, so quite a few. So a few incidents that have been rolling through on a monthly basis. Let's just run through some of these now. So users were unable to play Microsoft Stream videos embedded in PowerPoint or OneNote. We actually covered this in the previous meeting as well. Problem with print preview in Outlook on the web. So some users may see truncated output when printing calendars from Outlook on the web. So again, Exchange Online users have been unable to load shared calendars via an older version of Outlook on the web. So I think the new Outlook on the web experience is okay with this. Can't access Exchange Online functions through the Microsoft Graph API. So a lot of these seem to be Exchange Online focused, and maybe there's been some significant updates there. Admins can't manage migrations through the GUI in the Exchange Admin Center. Visio app delays or stalling, so users may have experience stalling or delays when using the Microsoft Visio app with the keyboard. Users may be unable to view user profile images within the Exchange Online service. That was actually false positive, that one as well, so again that probably shouldn't have been a real impact. Can't update team settings, so admins may have been unable to update team settings in Microsoft Teams Admin Center. That was the 23rd to the 27th of September, so a few days that ran for. Unable to view user profile images, so users may have been unable to view profile images in multiple Microsoft Office 365 services. So that looks like the one we just looked at before. This one's not a false positive, so there actually was an issue there. Azure Active Directory sync delays between the 25th and the 28th, so you may have had some issues there. Can't send or receive instant messages between Skype for Business Online and Microsoft Teams. I think we've seen this one previously. This has come up once or twice. I think as Microsoft's moving everyone to Microsoft Teams from Skype for Business, it looks like there's a couple of little glitches that happen every now and then. Can't send or receive instant messages between Teams and Skype for Business, so it looks like a similar issue, just the other way around. Delayed Microsoft 365 activation reports. We've seen this once or twice before. Admins may have noticed that their Microsoft 365 activation reports would not display any data after September the 26th. Can't access Power BI. So that was an issue for a couple of hours on the 1st of October. Can't view chat conversations or send messages, so users may have been unable to view chat conversations or send messages in Microsoft Teams. Feels related to the previous ones that we had. Can't render chart previews in Excel, so that might be an issue. Again, that just looks like sort of 20 minutes on the 1st of October, so most people may not have even noticed this. Meeting scheduling and consistency issues with Skype meeting broadcasts and cloud video interrupt meetings. So definitely looks like there's been some Skype for Business and Teams stuff going on in the background. Unexpected default settings for Teams meetings. So users may have noticed unexpected default settings when creating Teams meetings. I think that's business as usual normally, but hopefully that's something that will be less unexpected in the future. Calendar invites received as not supported calendar message.acs attachment. So this was an issue for actually quite a while, from the 11th of September to the 3rd of October. I can't say I've noticed this one myself, but you may have had some support issues around that. Can't send email in RTF format with embedded images. I think we saw that in the last call as well. That's closed. Can't enable external sharing. So from the 4th of October for, again, a couple of hours, admins may have been unable to enable external sharing for forms. Desktop Analytics snapshot was not available in the Office 365 portal. So Desktop Analytics administrators may have seen stale snapshots for the past 24 hours. Page elements missing from the ribbon on Classic sites. So the page elements feature was missing from the ribbon while in edit mode on Classic sites. That's an interesting one. Not sure what Microsoft's doing with Classic behind the scenes there. May have been some connection issues with Microsoft Teams. Again, this is very consistent with other things we've seen, so there's definitely been some back-end work going on here. Can't review full Microsoft 365 usage report data. So admins may have only been able to view the first 100 rows of Microsoft 365 usage reports. Errors and crashes with print preview and print within Office applications. Can't initiate channel meetings for newly created teams. So users may have been unable to initiate channel meetings for newly created teams. I'm pretty sure I've actually come across this one myself. I just assumed that was a period of time it took to provision the entire set of services. Not often have a problem. Webhook notification issue. So users may have been unable to receive Microsoft Teams webhooks notifications, and that was for about a day and a half there. So if you are using, oh sorry, I apologise, that's a false positive. So an incident that was raised that actually doesn't turn out to be a real issue. So some people may have seen something like this, but it may have been something else other than a platform issue. Missing event production information and can't start live events in Microsoft Stream. Again, we've seen some live event issues previously, so I guess what's going on there. Can't edit connectors on Teams channels. This was the 8th or 11th of October. So users were unable to edit connectors on Teams channels and didn't receive webhooks notifications within Microsoft Teams. Okay, so we just spoke about that as a false positive, but here we actually do have a service restored issue, so something was going on there. So again, between the 8th and the 11th of October, you may have had some issues there. Now, obviously, it's important to be aware of these things, because if you do rely on webhooks as a guaranteed service, then sometimes you may not get the information that you expect. Duplicate calendar events. So users may see duplicate calendar events on other account calendars when using Outlook on the web. Can't complete search, so in Yammer Enterprise, so users may have received incomplete or stale search results in Yammer. Unable to access the admin center. This crops up every so often. I think we normally have this in there, so I think there's a lot of work going on to the admin center behind the scenes, so maybe as deployments go out, that we see some service interruptions. iOS Outlook mobile sync issues, so users may have been intermittently unable to sync the Outlook mobile app on iOS devices. Exchange Online can't create mailbox restore requests. So this is from the 9th to the 14th of October, so a few days. Admins may have been unable to create a mailbox restore request in PowerShell or the Exchange Admin Center. Inbound call failures. The false positive on this one, so it'll be interesting if we see another issue in a moment, but users may have been unable to receive inbound calls directly or through meetings. That is down as a false positive. Retention policy not working for Skype for business messages in inbox. So Skype for business messages were not routing to the correct folder as dictated by the retention policy. Okay, again, 9th to the 14th. Common set of dates here by the looks of it, so I guess there's platform work going on there. OneDrive for Business email notification issue. Users are not receiving sharing email notifications from OneDrive for Business. That was about just under a day, 2 AM to 1800. SharePoint email notification issue. So users not receiving sharing email notifications. Sounds very similar, so I guess a similar issue going across OneDrive and SharePoint. Profile information and image missing. False positive. Actually, I think this goes back to the issue we just spoke about before. So I think a couple of these are false positives, and the issue we spoke about before was the underlying issue of profile information and images not going across applications. Can't save docs after save as modal dialog. So in Office client applications, so Office desktop applications, this went on for 4 days. Users may have been unable to save Word, Excel and PowerPoint documents. That sounds like a significant issue to me. Can't access Microsoft Planner. So for about 7 hours, midnight to, longer than that, about 19 hours on the 16th of October, users may have been intermittently unable to access the Microsoft Planner service. New playback issues on Microsoft Stream. So users were unable to play back new videos recently uploaded using Microsoft Stream. Can't access new Microsoft Search Analytics. So admins may have been unable to access any new analytics from the analytics page within the Microsoft Search settings. Can't access iOS mobile apps. So users may have been unable to access Microsoft 365 mobile apps using their iOS devices between the 14th and 18th of October. Interesting, because I use them on a daily basis, but I can't say I actually noticed that one myself. Can't reply or forward SMIME encrypted emails. Again, from the 4th of October to the 18th, so quite a long running issue here. Unable to access Microsoft 365 services using multi-factor authentication. So users may have been unable to sign in to Microsoft 365 services when leveraging multi-factor authentication. I think I've heard a few rumblings of this. I think I've sort of heard a few people who suffered this issue. That was the 18th to 21st of October. Can't send email with embedded images. So Exchange Online users may have received a non-delivery report when sending mail with embedded images in a rich text format. That was the 14th to 22nd, so again a few days. Problems with Power BI. Users may have been unable to sign into the Power BI service. Again, that's actually just, less than 15 minutes, so there seems to be some minor blips there. 50 out of 56, here we go. Can't join meetings. False positive here, so we might see another issue in a moment, which might be the underlying problem. But some users apparently were unable to join meetings via invite links. Can't create or join Skype meeting broadcasts. Again, down as a false positive. Users may have been unable to create or join Skype meeting broadcasts. Users may have been unable to create or start previously created Microsoft Teams live events. Again, down as a false positive. So I think there's a few incidents have been raised here, and there's probably one underlying issue that's caused all of these. Multiple Skype functions impacted. So 22nd to 23rd, we're talking just over a day. Users might have been unable to create, schedule or join Skype meeting broadcasts and cloud video interrupt meetings. Again, I think we've seen a few along across the same context here. Can't create Microsoft Teams live events. Again, same thing that we talked about. So this is service restored. So this might be the underlying issue for all of those false positives elsewhere. Can't access OneDrive for business content. False positive. Users may have been unable to access OneDrive for business content. And lastly, issue closed between, again, a couple of hours on the 24th of October. Can't access SharePoint online sites. We've kind of seen that before, so I guess ongoing blips. Okay, so they're all the service incidents that have happened in my own tenant. So you may have seen similar things, or you may have had different issues. The intention behind those items is really so that you can be empowered to go and support your own users in the workplace. If you've seen some of these issues, maybe you don't waste time going and investigating them, but you realise there's some platform issues there. So it's good to be empowered with that information and know what's currently going on. So the next thing we're going to do is going to have a look at the roadmap items. So we'll have a look at what's been cancelled in the roadmap. They tend to be replaced by other items. We'll find out what's been launched, so what you should now see in your tenants over the last 4 weeks, and also what's gone into rolling out, and also what's moved into development. Now, as usual, bear in mind this isn't the entire list of items in those categories. These are the new items that have entered that category over the last 4 weeks. Okay, so if you keep up with these webinars every other week, then you'll have a consistent view of what's new and what's rolling out. Anything of interest, anything you need to communicate to your users, then you can actually take that messaging out to your business. So if we jump straight in, first thing we're going to look at is, apologise, not the message centre, we've done that. So we're going to look at the roadmap. So we have one cancelled item from the roadmap. We have 34 items that are now launched. So that means they're no longer rolling out. That means they should be present in every tenant worldwide. And then the items that moved into rolling out, which means they may or may not be in your tenant yet. And then the items that are moved into in development for a slightly longer term view of what might be coming in the future. So jump straight in. So one item's been cancelled, so usage reports updates, new Office extensibility add-ins report. So they've cancelled a new report in the Office 365 usage dashboard. What's that for? About how your organisation is using Office 365. So that's been cancelled. I think that's highly likely that that may have been replaced by a different task as opposed to being cancelled altogether. So what has entered the launched status over the last 4 weeks? So SharePoint has a new web part. So modern SharePoint Pages now has a Power Apps web part, which is great. So that means we can add any Power App to any SharePoint modern page. Obviously, we've been able to do this previously just by using an embed code with the Power Apps application ID, but you have to know how to form that iframe item, which can be a bit confusing. So the SharePoint web part now should make that a lot easier. So I'm really happy to see that come through into modern. Service Communications API has gone into general availability, so you can utilize the Service Communications API to access current and historical service incidents and message center communications for your tenant. I may switch my flow to pull information from there as opposed to straight out of the message center list. That sounds quite exciting. Microsoft Teams audio calling for the Chrome browser. We saw this in rolling out phase previously. So we'll be able to make and receive calls using the Teams web application in the Chrome browser. So I'm sure that would be really useful for a lot of people. Microsoft Intune support for fully managed Android enterprise devices. Outlook for Android, location, meeting time, and the ability to RSVP in notifications. So you'll be able to expand your Outlook calendar notification to RSVP and see the location and meeting time. Per site, anyone link expiration policy. We spoke about this a few times over the last few weeks. So tenant admins can now set custom anyone link expiration policy on site collections that differs from default tenant policies. What this means, if you actually share a link to some content saying anyone can access it, which is basically anonymous access to anyone with the link, we can actually allow tenant admins to set custom expiration period on that, so it's not available forever on a site collection by site collection basis, which may be different from tenant policies. So maybe a site collection has more sensitive data, you want to set an expiration of a week as opposed to a month. That's something that tenant admins can now do. VDI, OneDrive and Windows Virtual Desktop Services has gone GA. That means nothing to me, so I'm sure that might be of interest to people out there. Scan OCR support iOS, so we'll now support OCR in the scan capture experience in iOS. That's in OneDrive for Business. Microsoft Teams, secondary ringer and answer from anywhere. So we've seen this in a rolling out status previously. So you now have the ability to configure a second ringer for calling. So users who are using Microsoft Teams in maybe a call center scenario where you have a headset, you can actually have the ringing happening in the headset, but also from your actually telephone device, so you can hear it from elsewhere. So that's going to be useful for people using Microsoft Teams for real telephony. Outlook for iOS, move messages to suggested folders. So you can effortlessly move emails to folders using Outlook folder suggestions. So if you get an email, Outlook on iOS is actually going to suggest, do you want to move this to a folder? So maybe have a folder for notifications or license emails or things like that. So that could be really useful. Again, Microsoft's doing a lot of work to try and declutter your email at the moment. So we're seeing a lot of advantages by moving conversation type stuff to Microsoft Teams and then leaving email for more formal communication. That's working really nicely, and I like what Microsoft's doing in this arena. Outlook for iOS, location information in calendar notifications. So your event location and time are included in your calendar notifications. Really useful. We want quick access to this information when we receive these things. Outlook for Windows, support for black office theme with reading pane toggle. So interesting, the Outlook for Windows team have decided to call this a black office theme rather than dark mode. But we know dark mode is currently the most exciting feature that's rolling out across our entire world at the moment. Although we're moving into winter, so I feel like actually, Manchester, where we live, is moving into dark mode at the moment. Outlook for Android, support for Samsung S Pen. So when using a Samsung Note device, you can use your S Pen to hover over mails, attachments, and events or people and perform quick actions. Microsoft Teams, cloud voicemail enhancements. Outlook for Android is getting support for POP3 accounts. Wow, that's the most modern thing I've seen so far. Outlook for Android, more visibility on larger screens. So view more of your messages across 3 panes and a flexible reading window when using Outlook for Android on tablets. Microsoft Intune management of Windows Defender firewall rules. So admins will soon, or will now, be able to create a list of rules controlling traffic through the Windows Defender firewall. That's going to be great use to admins, I'm sure. Windows Intune integration with Apple's volume purchasing program for macOS. So Microsoft Intune support for Apple's volume purchasing program to distribute enterprise purchased applications and custom line of business apps to Apple iOS and macOS devices. This is great. I've actually been involved before with Apple's volume purchase program for a customer, and it's not been easy in the past. So hopefully this brings a lot of good benefits to the table. Power Apps and Flow availability to GCC tenants. So we know government tenants tend to lag behind quite a lot, so I'm sure they'll be really excited to finally get their hands on these awesome tools. Microsoft Teams dynamic emergency calling for calling plans. So dynamic emergency calling is a feature of Microsoft Teams phone system. It uses the caller's current location to route to a public safety answering point. Outlook for iOS, edit meeting series. So for recurring events, you can update the meeting date and or time for every event in a series at once. Great, I didn't realise I couldn't do that previously. Same for Outlook for Android. Microsoft Teams desktop app rolls to existing installs for Office 365 Pro Plus and Microsoft Office 365 Business and Business Premium. What this means is now when you first sign up or when a new user comes into your Office 365 environment and they have the ability to download the Office desktop applications, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those, Microsoft Teams will also be installed as part of that initial set of Office applications. Group policy setting that shows the Office Insider option to end users. So Microsoft's made it easier for you to give selected users in your organization the option to use Office Insider builds on devices running Windows. So you can now configure the show the options for Office Insider policy setting to show those users for the Office Insider. It should make it a lot easier for you to control which users in your business are accessing those insider builds, which will be of great benefit. Obviously, we don't recommend running everyone on Office Insider because the content is still in development and maybe unstable, but you definitely want to have a portion of users who are accessing that so you can get an idea of how future builds will affect your business. Microsoft Authentication Library for iOS. So iOS developers can use msal.ios to securely sign in and authenticate with Microsoft Identity, call Microsoft the Graph, and other Microsoft APIs and other APIs that developers have built. I'm sure that is going to be a godsend for iOS developers. I know it has been for us in the Windows world. Same thing for Android. Outlook for Android, RSVP from email notifications, so be able to RSVP to meeting invitations as soon as you receive them by expanding the email notification from your lock screen to reveal the RSVP buttons. I find these interesting. I find we are able to do more and more without having to unlock our devices, so I wonder how much this may open up users to unauthorized access to not unauthorized access to their devices, but unauthorized activities from their devices if we can do this from the lock screen. I'll be interested if anyone has any views on this. Let me know what you think. Either tweet me at Mark Stokes or in the comments below. Microsoft Teams, delegation enhancements. So Microsoft has enhanced delegation so that the people who support you can now add or remove additional delegates. They will also be able to change call forward in settings on your behalf, and this will better support those who need to delegate their calls. So again, Teams in a call center scenario, I'm sure we'll get a lot of value out of this. Again there, this is 29 out of 34. Microsoft Teams, music on hold. Phone system will play default music defined by the service when an external call from the PSTN network is placed on hold. Great, Microsoft Teams is going to get a whole bunch of super exciting elevator music. I can't wait. Audio conferencing via direct routing for GCC High and GCC DoD. I'll let you read that in your own time. Outlook for iOS secure multi-purpose internet mail extensions, S/MIME, so that's coming to Outlook for iOS, we've seen this rolling out previously. Microsoft Intune support for derived credentials on iOS, so Microsoft Intune support on iOS devices for managing derived credential certificates that are used for seamless authentication to apps, Wi-Fi, VPN, as well as for S/MIME signing and encryption. That should make people's lives quite a lot easier who are using highly encrypted services. Usage analytics for government community cloud high, so again just kind of bringing GCC a bit more into alignment of some of the functionality we've had for a while. Microsoft Intune administration evolves with Microsoft 365 Device Management Center. So one of the promises of Microsoft 365 is simplified administration, and over the years Microsoft has integrated the back-end Microsoft 365 services to deliver end-to-end scenarios such as Intune and Azure Active Directory conditional access. And that's it. So that is all the new items that has entered the launch status over the last 4 weeks. Again, there may be more from previous, but they're the new items in that category. So if you are interested, you may want to use that to support your users. Now, moving to the rolling out. So these are the new items that are rolling out. So there may be other items currently rolling out to your tenant, and you need to go back and watch the previous versions of this for the full extent of what they are. There would just be too many for us to cover every single fortnight. So these are the new items that have started rolling out over the last month. And by rolling out, that means you may see them anytime within 4 weeks ago and 2 months in. And it's normally about 3 months, I think, to roll these items out. So some of you may see this already and some may not. So what has started rolling out in the last month? First of all, renaming of subscription names. So the subscription names of Project Online Professional and Project Online Premium will be changed into Project Plan 3 and Project Plan 5 respectively. I personally find them less descriptive, but it's more aligned with the other services that we have like E3, E5 and things like that. Differential sync for all file types in OneDrive for Business. So OneDrive will synchronize large files significantly faster and considerably reduce network utilization for all file types. What that means, it's only going to sync the differences between files as opposed to the file in its entirety. So we should see some quite significant performance enhancements there. If you do notice any performance enhancements, please do let me know. I'll be interested to see how that works. For anything OneDrive, I also recommend checking out Hans Brender. He's Mr. OneDrive, and he has all the information you will need on these kind of things. Common Office 365 file sharing experience in Outlook Web Access. Outlook Web Apps, to give it its correct name. So when you copy paste the link to a file stored in OneDrive, we'll reconcile the file name as a hyperlink instead of pasting the full URL. I personally am very much looking forward to this. I hate sending fugly URLs to customers and people. Quite often I end up going and creating a bit.ly link myself just to make that link a little bit more consumable. So the nice thing is we're actually going to be, Microsoft will be embedding a a better labelled hyperlink going forward, so that should make our lives a lot more pleasant. External sharing reports in SharePoint. Site admins will be able to see all the items in a site that are shared externally. That is going to be very useful. I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure a lot of our customers will take a lot of benefit in seeing that. AutoCAD file preview. Now this is exciting. So we are happy to add AutoCAD to our list of over 320 file types. We offer full fidelity previews that are powered by OneDrive. Interesting to see if and how many people are storing AutoCAD files in here. Traditionally with SharePoint, we tended to avoid it because they tend to be very, very large files. So I'd be really interested to hear if people are storing AutoCAD files in OneDrive for Business and SharePoint, just to see how you find that experience, because they are very large files typically. We also used to have a lot of issues previously with file sync as well, multiple people working on the same files at the same time, so I wonder if that story has improved since I last looked at it many, many years ago. Okay, 6 out of 22. Microsoft Teams, music on hold. So we've actually just seen this in the launch phase. Apparently it's also still rolling out. So it's probably actually been into rolling out and also launched within the same period, which might be why we see it in both categories. But apparently that is now fully launched, so everyone should see that. Microsoft Teams, reverse number lookup, so display PSTN caller name based on Azure Active Directory data and telco provided display name. So if you're using Microsoft Teams to do full FAT telephony, then if you have contacts in your Azure Active Directory data, then you'll actually get the user's name or the contact's name based off that reverse number lookup. And if you don't have in your Azure AD but your telco is able to provide it, then you'll see that. So I'm sure that will be very useful for people using Teams for their telephony. Dynamic emergency calling for calling plans. Again, we've actually just covered this in the launched phase. So this has obviously gone from rolling out to launch very quickly. Manual sensitivity labeling of email in Outlook on the web. So we'll get the ability to manually apply Microsoft Information Protection sensitivity labels when authoring an email in the Office 365 version of Outlook on the web. Microsoft Teams is getting location-based routing. Again, I think we've just seen this previously. Actually, no, I apologise, this is different. So location-based routing is a call management feature, controls how calls are routed. So it makes it possible to restrict the routing of calls between VoIP endpoints and PSTN endpoints based on the location of the parties in the call. So if you imagine you have multiple offices or multiple sales locations, then what we can actually do is route you to the best person based on the caller's geographic location. I think that could be really useful. So if you're a firm with multiple offices in London, Manchester, Liverpool, then maybe you can route people to the closest office. That sounds very interesting. New profile cards in both web and mobile Office 365 applications. So profile cards are getting an update. So the contact cards or people card. My Analytics dashboard is coming to more Microsoft 365 Government and Office 365 Government suites. Again, bringing GCC up to alignment with what the rest of us had for quite a bit of time. We're getting there. 13 out of 22 on rolling out. My Analytics email digest is coming to more Microsoft 365 Government and Office 365 Government suites. External sharing reports with OneDrive. End users will be able to access reports on all their shared content. Okay, so the previous one we looked at was a tenant or site collection admin looking at shared content, but also users will be able to see what they have externally shared. I think that's going to be really useful. I know a lot of customers who are going to really, really appreciate that. Okay. Microsoft Teams, phone system for GCC High and DoD. Again, more features rolling out to government tenants. Adding malware zap toggle to the Security and Compliance Center. So Microsoft is adding a malware zap toggle to the anti-malware policy in the SEC. This update brings the ability to enable or disable malware 0-hour auto purge via the anti-malware policy UI in Security and Compliance Center. That I think will be very useful. Outlook for Android, meeting insights. Outlook for iOS, meeting insights. Emails and documents that are relevant to your meeting or appointment are included in the calendar event description. DKIM key size increased to support 2048-bit. Unverified sender available in Outlook client. So unverified sender is a new Office 365 feature that helps end users identify suspicious messages in their inbox. Interestingly, I actually got I can't remember the details now. I got a spam email recently that actually very nearly caught me out. I'm very, very careful on these things, but it was a very well. It was a Microsoft Office 365 email. I can't remember the exact details of what it was, but it was very, very well formed, and it very nearly caught me out. So just beware. Outlook for iOS, native labeling sensitive messages. So support Microsoft information protection, native labeling of sensitive messages, and provide a justification to company administrators for changes to the label to comply with corporate policies. A lot of work going on in this area at the moment. Same for Outlook for Android. And that's it. So that's all the new items that have started rolling out over the last 4 weeks. So we know what's launched, we know what's started to rolling out, and I strongly suggest any of those issues that any of those features that you think will affect your users, please start communicating with them. Now you know what's coming, start sending them messages out. You can go back through the video, I've provided links at the bottom to these items and the feature ID, so you can go get more information on these. So anything that you think your users need to know about, now is the time to start communicating with them. Okay, so what we can do now is we can just take a little bit of a longer term view of the in development items and what's going on here. These are the things that Microsoft are working on. These may never come to fruition, most of them will, and most of them will go into a preview tenant before they go and start rolling out. So this gives you a little bit longer term. So if there's a feature you're waiting for, you may see it here, something to get excited about. And some of these things, if it's a little bit bigger, you might want to start the end user adoption process earlier to get your users aware of what's coming. Now we don't have any timelines on when these things will land, but it's just general information on what's coming soon. So we should jump into these quickly. We've got some time left, we've got about 20 minutes still before we hit an hour, try and keep it under that. So let's try and run through these reasonably quickly. Okay, so number one, Workday connector for Microsoft Cloud App Security. So the new connector for Workday provides greater visibility and control via Microsoft's Cloud Access Security Broker by giving you the ability to monitor users and activities. Microsoft Teams, dynamic emergency calling for calling plans. Interesting, we've actually spoke about that already. Microsoft 365 Compliance Center available to Office 365 tenants. So Microsoft 365 Compliance Center will be available to Office 365 tenants. Office 365 customers can start using the specialized compliance workspace. So interesting, might need to investigate this a little bit more because we already have the Security and Compliance Center, so I'm interested to know what the Compliance Center is with regard. So I might look into that a bit more detail and see if we can get some more information on that in the future. Idle session timeout for Microsoft 365 web parts. So idle session timeout feature allows IT admins to configure tenant-wide timeout values based on which users get automatically signed out after a period of an activity on Microsoft 365 web apps. Sorry, web apps, not web parts. My bad. Compliance solution catalog in public preview. So the solution catalog in public preview, which locates in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, will enable companies to better discover and learn the solutions that help meet their compliance goals. Migrate compliance solutions from the Office 365 Security Compliance Center to Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. Okay, so this is more information on what we're talking about. So this is obviously a replacement to the Office 365 Office Security and Compliance Center. So I'd be interested in if people are currently looking into this, but I'll certainly do some more research here. Automated incident response for compromised user accounts. So Microsoft is adding a new playbook for automated investigations and remediation of compromised user accounts. With the new playbook for detecting compromised users, security teams can automatically identify, mitigate and contain threats due to these user accounts, reducing potential damages significantly. Now this is really good. For those who aren't aware, a playbook is a set of instructions for what should happen under a certain scenario. Now, it's a lot of smaller businesses and medium businesses may not have the IT or security capability to actually know how to identify in the first place and then how to act upon issues where they think their user accounts may be may be compromised. So what's happening here is Microsoft is actually going to give us a guide through that process. What should we do? Should we identify that a user's account has been compromised? So this is something I'm very excited to see, and hopefully we'll get some more information on this, and we'll be able to see it soon. Delivery optimization isn't going into preview. So delivery optimization is a peer-to-peer distribution technology available in Windows 10 that allows devices to share content such as updates that the devices have downloaded from Microsoft over the internet. So instead of every single device downloading from Windows Update, we'll actually have the ability to do a peer-to-peer download, so devices on your local network will be able to load content from other devices on your local network, which will make it a lot faster and affect your internet connection a lot less for those updates. External sharing reports to OneDrive. Okay, we've actually seen this already. I think this has moved into rolling out maybe already. Microsoft Compliance Score in public preview. Okay, so Microsoft Compliance Score, which will be available in public preview, can help organisations simplify and automate risk assessments and provide recommended actions to address the risk. Again, something I think will be very useful. File hover card conversations. This new file hover card feature alongside the file details and actions like inside look and activity will show relevant emails, meetings and Teams conversations to the individual reviewing the file hover card information. So that's when you go into SharePoint or OneDrive, then you hover over a card, you get the quick look at the document, the metadata, and we're going to get more information there around that document. OneDrive and SharePoint email localization. So Microsoft will now localize emails where possible to the preferred language of recipients as defined in the AAD and Exchange settings. In case of multi-recipient emails, ODSP has built-in logic to consume content and site languages to localize emails. This is interesting. So a lot of work, a lot of improvements are coming around machine translation at the moment. So if you receive an email from somebody in Spanish or French or Portuguese, then Outlook will automatically convert those into your local language. I think this is very exciting. We've seen demos of this kind of stuff in Skype and Teams so far, and I think this is very interesting, especially for organisations like us who sell to international customers who do speak different languages. This could be really, really useful. So I'm quite excited to see this. SharePoint site URL rename. So as business changes, so too can your sites, especially site URLs. In the SharePoint Admin Center, you will be able to change site URLs by renaming them. Excellent. Brilliant. I'm very happy and excited to see this. Please release this quickly. Okay, the ability to contact support through the Admin Center for GCC High and DoD. So giving them the ability to contact Microsoft support and manage service requests. Outlook for Android, new app for Samsung Galaxy Watch. Outlook for iOS, suggested and inferred locations. So Outlook will automatically suggest locations for some recurring events on your calendar, so you can access directions or receive time to leave reminders. Outlook for iOS accepts a new proposed time to meet. Outlook for iOS, propose a new time to meet. Feels logical. Outlook for Android, meeting insights. Emails and documents that are relevant to your meeting or appointment are included in the calendar event description. Outlook for iOS up next. So events on your calendar that are coming up in the next 30 minutes and marked as busy will be included in a new banner at the top of your inbox. That could be useful. iPad enhancements for iPad OS. So with a larger screen, use the new split screen available with the iPad OS. So open multiple messages or view your messages list and calendar at the same time. That I think will be very useful for large iPad owners. Same for Android, showing meetings that are coming up next in top of your inbox. Outlook for iOS, suggested replies. So simply select from one of the few suggested responses to common email messages. Again, I'm not sure about this. I don't think I want this in my email. This sounds more conversational, and I think the conversation should be happening outside of email. I think email's formal communication, so I don't think I want suggested responses. I think those communications should not be there, but maybe I'm weird, I don't know. Updating live events policy settings for live captions and subtitles. Outlook for iOS, keep notifications confidential. So support obfuscation or hiding email content and notifications based on your organization's data protection policies. Same thing for Android. Combining services and add-ins, security and privacy and organization profile on a single page in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. That already sounds like a lot on one page. So Microsoft is combining the services and add-ins or app security and privacy and organization profile pages under a single page in the Admin Center to simplify settings management. That feels like a mouthful. I'm sure they'll have a great way to organize it. Tenant-specific mailbox for sharing communications. So today, all tenants share a common no-reply SharePointOnline.com domain for various email communication scenarios. But with this update, we will segregate tenant emails by domain, removing the risk of emails being sorted into junk folders and segregating spam scores. So it'll be more tenant-specific, so no-reply at contoso.microsoft.com. Yeah, I think that makes sense, actually. I'm up for that. Outlook for iOS meeting insights, so emails and documents that are relevant to your meeting or appointment are included in the calendar event description. Yeah, we've seen something similar previously. Usage analytics for government, community, cloud high, GCC high. Group policy settings that show the Office Insider option to end users. Spoke about that already. Cross-volume support when you enable backup of your important folders. So OneDrive known folder move support for migrations where the known folders are on a different volume than OneDrive. Outlook for OneDrive, excuse me, Outlook for Android, time to leave notifications. We've just seen that previously for Outlook for iOS. Location choice for Windows Virtual Desktop Services data. So Windows allows IT pros to pick the region best suited for them to deploy their VMs. They can also choose storage of the service metadata in the region best suited to their needs. Form customization is SharePoint lists and libraries. So this feature allows users in lists and libraries to customize the order and visibility of fields on forms. Users can click Show Hide Fields in the Property form or the Details pane to perform this customization. This is good. I'm happy about this. At the moment, the only way for us to customize those forms in SharePoint lists and libraries is to use Power Apps. Whilst that works really well, I'm not convinced it's always the best way of doing it. So it looks like now we're going to get the ability to actually customize those forms, which is great. It'd be nice to see them some more full page options as well, as opposed to just the flyout panel that we currently get. I mean, you know, from SharePoint Classic, whatever went wrong with customizing list forms, I'm sure it'll be fine. Microsoft Teams, direct routing enhancements. So there are multiple new direct routing enhancements which cover a variety of important scenarios. File hover card, people who viewed. So this new file hover card feature, we've seen some updates already, alongside the file details and actions like look inside an activity. Microsoft will also show you who has viewed your files and pages in OneDrive and SharePoint. That can be very interesting. In the coming weeks, Outlook on the web gets changes in tasks. So Outlook on the web will update the name of the tasks module and the tasks tab in My Day to To-Do. The task experience in the new Outlook on the web is already powered by To-Do. So this update better reflects the commitment to the integration between Office 365 products and gives you one app. There's been a lot of conversations going on recently around this. Obviously, Microsoft bought Wunderlist a few years ago with the intention of making that into the To-Do application, because that had a lot of love in the industry. But instead of actually using Wunderlist, Microsoft decided to go and write their own new app called To-Do, which arguably isn't as good as Wunderlist, using the Wunderlist team to do that. So the previous owner who sold Wunderlist to Microsoft has actually asked Microsoft if he can buy it back so that the product doesn't get deleted and removed. So he said keep the team, they can carry on working on To-Do, focus on what you want to do in To-Do, but he wants the ability to take Wunderlist back so that he can actually carry on working on it. So very interesting. Okay, Microsoft Teams, presenter and attendee roles for meetings. New profile cards in both web and mobile Office 365 applications. We've covered that already. That's going into GCC as well. Users can pin apps to the Teams left rail. So Teams users can now customize what apps appear in their left rail in Teams, allow them to quickly access the apps that they use on a daily basis. I think that'd be useful. Teams is very quickly becoming the new Outlook, so I think that'd be good to allow some customization and personalization of it. Microsoft Teams auto renewal. So ensure collaboration moves forward with automatically renewal of Teams. A team with an expiration policy will renew automatically when any member visits a channel, reducing the need for Teams owners to manually do this periodically. So we're trying to solve sprawl of Microsoft Teams at this point, where Teams can expire and be archived, but we can actually set custom expiration policies, which will be good. Microsoft Teams phone system administration enhancements. I'm sure that'll be very useful to people who use Teams for PSTN. Microsoft Teams silent login. Experience a smoother first login experience in Microsoft Teams. After a user installs Teams for the first time and logs into any Office application with Microsoft Work accounts, he or she will automatically be signed into Teams. Yes, thank you. Graph resource specific consent. Your Teams app can now call Teams Graph APIs without needing admin consent. These APIs include creating, renaming and deleting channels, reading channel messages, creating tabs and adding or removing members from Teams. So Graph API, great, thank you. This is going to be really useful for people automating Teams management. Nearly there, 10 items to go. Outlook on the web, RSVP and message list. Outlook will allow you to respond to a meeting invite directly from the message list with an RSVP button. I think we've already seen this through in the rolling out as well. I think we spoke about that already today. Location choice for Windows Virtual Desktop Service data. Yeah, I've covered this already. Microsoft Teams desktop app will roll to existing installs for Office 365 Pro Plus and Microsoft Office. The desktop Teams client will be downloaded by default for existing users of Office 365 Pro Plus, 365 Business and Business Premium apps for customers on the semi-annual channel. With this change, your users will no longer need to do a separate install. I thought this was already rolled out, so interesting why this is currently in development. Direct VM to user assignment for migration into Windows Virtual Desktop. IT pros can migrate a customized VM image to Azure, register the VM to a host pool, and then directly assign a user to that session host VM, allowing efficient bulk migration of on-premises virtualization workloads from Windows Virtual Desktop. I'm sure that would be useful, if not expensive. Windows Virtual Desktop latency improvements for Europe and Japan. Self-explanatory. High-value events and audit, so for GCC, high-value volume audit events to power your investigations. It'd be nice if you had a bit more description there, please, Microsoft. Process audit insights, again, GCC. Insights and correlations that signal key patterns to help identify quick answers to typical queries during investigations. Near real-time access to audit data. So high bandwidth allowances in the audit API to ease limits associated with throttling during login ingestion and enable fast access to audit defense. Yeah, this kind of makes sense. I think this is quite important. If you are performing an audit to incidents, we want to get that information as quick as possible so we can mitigate any risk as quick as possible. Longer term retention on audit logs. So log retention for up to 1 year to meet investigation requirements and customize retention policies per an organization's requirements. Yeah, I'm sure that would be super useful. Outlook on the web, new experience in government environments. So again, GCC catching up to what we've had for a while. Outlook on the web, automatic sensitivity labels. So we've seen this in iOS and other applications. So admins can set up sensitivity labels, enable auto classification for each of them, and apply those labels across certain groups and conditions. And that is it. That is everything that has changed over the last 4 weeks. Okay, I appreciate there's a lot there. I will try my best to make sure I don't leave it 4 weeks again in the future. It's been a busy period, so hopefully again in 2 weeks' time I'll be able to give you a shorter update. I have managed to keep it under an hour, so I'm quite thankful for that, but I hope that's useful. As always, please reach out to me at Mark Stokes on Twitter. Please reply in the comments and let me know what you think of this session. Is it useful for you? Is there anything you would like me to change in the future? If you do like it, please hit the like button. If you don't like it, then well, hit the dislike so I know, but please do also feedback why, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you.